Local Sports Ohio presents Pigskin Preview on 102.9 FM and AM 960 and on YouTube at Local Sports OH. Tonight's show brought to you by Home Siding Contractors, Village Motors, Star Strategies, A&J Exhaust and Tire Center, MRB Siding Supply, Hartley's Auto Repair, and our presenting sponsor, Sterling Farm Equipment. Back with the show after this.
Hi, Conrad here for Sterling Farm Equipment. You probably heard about tariffs causing prices to rise, but not at Kubota. That's right, Kubota is holding the line on equipment prices with no increases due to tariffs. And it gets even better. Kubota has boosted their cash incentives on most models. That means more money in your pocket and top quality equipment in your field. But don't wait, these deals won't last forever. Come see us today at Sterling Farm Equipment and get more for your money with Sterling Farm Equipment and Kubota.
Sterling Farm Equipment for construction, home, and farm.
High school football talk back here on FM 102.9 and Glory AM 960, along with the YouTube at Local Sports OH. Hi, everybody. Mike Breckenridge on the opening week of the 2025 season, joined by Pete Norman and Ron Hamilton. Us three will call the games for you right here on Worcester Radio once again this year. And, guys, it's August. It's been hot, but once again, we got to get ready for high school football. It's that time of the year. It's going to go quick for 16 weeks, but Friday night we renew it again with Worcester and Orville.
Worcester-Orville, big rivalry coming up. And I'll tell you what, Mike, we have been blessed the last couple of years with teams late in the playoffs, 2 state title games the last 2 years. Doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah, the playoff format as it's been has been changed. We'll talk about that. But regardless of the expansion over the last couple of years, we've been very fortunate. We've had teams go deep. It doesn't often happen for a lot of areas, but you got back-to-back state title games that we've had with Dalton and last year Hillsdale. That's pretty special.
Yeah, Dalton in 2023 and the run they had, and then Hillsdale last year, what they were able to do, and for area football fans who have been around a while, to have Hillsdale in a state title game 25, 30 years ago was just unfathomable. So what they've been able to do really over the last almost 20 years under Tom Williams and now Coach Klein, it's pretty amazing. And to have it culminate in a state title appearance last year was phenomenal.
And when you talk about successes, we also have to bring up Norwayne from last year, because the Bobcats seemingly have played as many meaningful games as we have covered in the last 10 years, starting, of course, with that remarkable state run, which unbelievably is a long time away now. But Adam Endorf has continued what Joe Harbour started, and they won the Wayne County Athletic League title last year because Hillsdale can't get past the Bobcats.
Yeah, I mean, the Bobcats have ruled Hillsdale the last few years, last year being the same thing. And yeah, when you look at Norwayne, you expect them to make the playoffs. Not only just make the playoffs, you expect them to win a game or two, and some years make a deep run. Could this be a year for them?
We always talk about the start of the season and who's lost what, and of course there's many expectations, and we don't know a lot. We won't know a lot really till we hit the bulk of the league schedule week 4, but we do know that Hillsdale is pretty much loaded again. We expect the Falcons to have a great year.
Yeah, this is, as good as a team is when they make a run, things have to happen. I mean, Hillsdale against Malvern last year, you have a Hail Mary at the end of the half, you have a Hail Mary at the end of the ball game. Danville, they're down, 22-6 with a minute to go in the half, and they come back and rally. So just because you've got guys back and you're loaded doesn't mean that you can make the similar deep run. Things have to happen. That being said, for a team who made the state title game, 17 of 22 starters are back. And you take a look at the skill positions, and everybody is back. I mean, they're a team that you look at them and say, wow, this is a team that could be playing in November, possibly the first weekend in December. But more than that, I think the first step for Hillsdale is, hey, we've got all these guys back. Let's go out and win a Wayne County Athletic League title.
When you take a look, Hillsdale is going to be one of the stories this year. Another couple of stories is our ball game in Week 1, Worcester-Orville, because we have 2 new coaches to that rivalry. And by the way, the last time that happened was 1926, that it's been a first-year Worcester coach and a first-year Orville coach. There's been a lot of longevity in this series. This will be the 114th meeting between the schools. Ray Leake takes over at Worcester. Brent Bezanson at Orville. And the pressure on those two guys week one with your biggest rival is always a little bit something special.
Yeah, that's for sure. I mean, when you look at Worcester-Orville, it's one of the staple rivalries in the state of Ohio. Over the years, they've played over 100 times and pretty close when you look at the wins and losses between the two. Those two schools don't like each other, and things get out of hand sometimes in their games. That's the type of rivalry I like.
Now, you mentioned Ray Leake. He had 1 year at Dalton, a very successful year, trying to really turn Worcester around. And then you mentioned Brent Bezanson, another familiar name coming from Madison. He was at Smithville prior to that, and really trying to turn Orville around. It's only been 7 years since Orville won the state title back in 2018 under Coach DeVault. It seems like a lot longer than that, and Orville's still a football town, and I'm sure that he knows the kind of pressure that the community has and wants to get that program back up and running.
There's a lot of other big games which we'll talk about as we go through, but one of the other changes that we can speak of right out of the start is the playoff situation. We go from 16 to 12 teams. Of course, the 16 teams coming in a couple of years ago, very controversial. The Coaches Association had wanted 12, and that's what it was going to be, and then COVID hit. And that back then in 2020, the OHSAA decided, you know what, let's just get everybody in, and that's the way they want. And then they went to 16. We all know what happened. A lot of blowouts in the first round. But teams that could never get a chance to have a playoff action got playoff football games. Was it watered down? Fans were on each side of the aisle. But the bottom line is we're back to 12 now. And it also means 8 teams are going to play week one in each region. 4 teams get a bye. So that's a big difference. It also should probably mean, since those bye games and the heavy hitters in each region are resting, we should get some pretty good first-round games. We haven't necessarily had that the last couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at a 5 seed playing a 12 seed instead of a 1 seed playing a 12 seed. That's a big difference, for sure, in playoff football.
And I would think as well, it's also going to be more of a bonus to be that 1 and 4, because you not only get a bye, the other thing that has changed, the first 3 weeks of the playoffs are home site games. It used to be the first 2, then they go neutral site. So if you're one of those power teams and you can be home through week 13, that's, look, the best team always wins, but that's still a blessing, especially if you're home folks and all your money and your concessions.
Yeah, I mean, I like all 3 changes. Obviously, the less teams you have, theoretically, the better the competition is going to be. I like the fact that the top 4 teams get the bye, and then so they're not penalized for having the bye. They're still going to get 2 home playoff games. So the first 3 rounds are the top seed. But if you're one of those top 4 seeds that gets a bye, theoretically you can still have 2 home playoff games. You're playing your home games until what? The regional title game will be the first time you go on the road. That's a huge advantage for those higher-tiered teams.
So those teams that get in 9 through 12 also, I think your mindset changes. Before, those teams realize, look, it's going to be tough to win a ball game. Now your 12's going up against your 5. That's a lot better round 1 than seeing 16 and 1. Yeah, there might have been an upset in the upper regions, but you get better first-round games, keep more people involved. I know that some people wanted everybody to get involved, but it got to the point where in Division I, which has less teams than every other division because of the makeup, you were having 1 and 9 teams in the postseason getting obliterated by schools. And football is still the only sport that I know that you physically get manhandled. You can get blown out in basketball, embarrassed in baseball, but you don't get physically abused, and that was something that was a concern.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, it's going to be a little different for the coaches, especially the top 4 seed coaches, because you're going to have to handle your team a little differently in that off week. You want to sort of get your bumps and bruises healed, but you're going to have to still stay in action to keep your team crisp. I can see a lot of teams coming out of that being rusty.
Well, on the flip side, and what you were alluding to a little bit, Mike, too, is rather than a lower seed, a 16 seed going up against a 1 or a 15 going up against the 2, and really just having that, we're in the playoffs, but now here we go. Anybody that's going to face one of those top 4 seeds is going to have a playoff win under their belt. And momentum's a real thing. You get that Week 11 win against somebody, and maybe all of a sudden, okay, we've got the number 3 seed, but we we've got a little bit of momentum going. Maybe they're a little bit rusty, and it makes that second round action maybe a little bit more fun as well.
So we'll see how the playoff situation develops. We mentioned Worcester and Orville, which is our game here Friday night, and the two new coaches. There's also two other schools within the Wayne County Athletic League, ironically, who have new coaches, both Dalton and Rittman as well. We have 4 in our area this year. Reed Geibel, he's a Dalton guy, takes over the Bulldog program, and Mike Huff, who's a Rittman native, takes over the Indians. So a couple of changes there. There's always seems to be, no matter what sport, there's going to be turnover, and we have basically almost a third of our coaches new this year.
A little bit of a strange thing there when you're talking about Dalton. This is the third head coach in 3 years, so it'll be interesting to see how the players respond because, again, we're talking about one of the more solid programs over the last 25, 30 years. To have 3 coaches in a 3-year span at a school like that, a little bit strange.
Yeah, it's just so unusual because it's not been a struggling program. Year after year, you expect good things from Dalton. Situations, circumstances, we're not getting into the mix of all the things that have happened. But I'm sure the Dalton administration, the Dalton fans would love a little stability with a very good program. And they're going to be a solid team again this year. Coach Geibel's got a team, even though they lost some key contributors, they're going to be in the mix in the Wayne County Athletic League. We'll see them early. So it's been unusual, but regardless who's been the coach, they've managed to win football games. They won 10 last year.
Yeah, it's about talent, and they have the talent over there. Small school, but the kids are all bought in, and it really doesn't matter to them who the head coach is. They know they have a job to do, and they go out and they do it. Doesn't matter who's calling the plays or anything like that. So that cohesiveness is always a plus, and Dalton has it.
And when you take a look at Rittman, Mike Huff takes over the program. They had a nice little run. You know, when you talk about the Indians, they retool. They lose a lot from last year, but it's nice that a homegrown guy wants to step in and help out a program that has had, some struggles both in getting the number of guys out and getting the wins they've wanted. So hopefully he can still generate some enthusiasm for their program.
Yeah, it's going to be life without Artie Sonego up at Rittman, and that guy did it all for them. So now it's going to have to be more of a team concept. It'll be interesting to see how they move forward.
So that's just some of the things that are happening in Week 1 as we head through Week 10 of the regular season high school football talk. Pigskin preview here on FM 102.9, local sports OH on your YouTube at AM 960. We'll come back with more. We'll talk about what's going on in each conference, the PAC, the OCC, and the Wayne County Athletic League, coming up after this.
Here at Hartley's Auto Repair, we work on all makes and models. We have friendly, knowledgeable staff that are ready to tackle all of your repair and maintenance concerns.
Do you know how to work on diesels? Stop in and join our team.
We are Hartley's Auto Repair, and we've got you covered. Find us in Worcester at 3281 Lincoln Way East. You can also find us on all major social medias.
Hi, Conrad here for Sterling Farm Equipment. You probably heard about tariffs causing prices to rise, but not at Kubota. That's right, Kubota is holding the line on equipment prices with no increases due to tariffs. And it gets even better. Kubota has boosted their cash incentives on most models. That means more money in your pocket and top quality equipment in your field. But don't wait, these deals won't last forever. Come see us today at Sterling Farm Equipment and get more for your money with Sterling Farm Equipment and Kubota.
Sterling Farm Equipment for construction, home and farm.
A&J Exhaust and Tire Center provides a wide variety of services at affordable prices, and they're committed to staying up to date on new technology in the auto industry in order to serve you with the best service possible. You have many options on auto repairs and tires, and they want to thank their customers for choosing A&J Exhaust and Tire Center, and especially for referring them to their friends and family. When you need help with your vehicle, they'll be here for you. A&J Exhaust and Tire Center will keep you rolling for less. Located at 3236 Dover Road, Worcester.
If you're looking for more insulation, then stop by MRV Siding Supply for top-rated by Winco windows. By Winco offers black windows carrying more argon gas, which gives you 30% more installation value. By Winco windows also have standard double strength, increasing noise reduction. That's MRV Siding Supply in Millersburg, Newark, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Call 800-524-7436.
Get your siding supplies from the siding guys. MRV Siding Supply.
Get your vehicle back on the road smooth and problem-free with Village Motors Collision Center. Hi, this is Deke Miller, and our Collision Center works on all makes and models and has available deductible assistance, along with loaner and rental vehicles available for your use, complimentary oil change packages, not to mention that we are the preferred repair shop for most insurance companies. Ask us about our cleanup packages with 4 great packages from basic to premium by appointment only starting at $19.95. For collision repair, make your first stop at Village Motors in Millersburg.
We're back here with Pigskin Preview, FM 102.9, local sports OH on your YouTube. Presented by Sterling Farm Equipment here on this Thursday. We talk week 1 high school football, and I guess good a time as any to run down the schedule of games that we have starting out on a Friday night. Of course, we will be at Red Ryder Stadium. Worcester and Orrville meet up for the 114th time. Riders got them last year 41-18. That ended, by the way, a 3-game Worcester win streak. General still lead the all-time series, 60 wins to 44-9. Also, 2 other locals renewed their rivalry. Triway traveling to West Holmes to take on the Knights. Triway got them last year, ending a West Holmes run. Dalton is at home, and they take on Columbus Bishop Reedy. Bulldogs have had some problems trying to fill some of the non-league slate. The same problem that Norway has had because, well, they've been good, and trying to get smaller schools to play them has been difficult. So Reedy, the Division IV school, comes up to Dalton to take on Reed Geibel and his ball club in their first ever game. Speaking of the Bobcats, year number 2 with St. Clairsville. They lost a narrow game by a touchdown down there. By the way, St. Clairsville didn't lose until they met up with Indian Valley, and that was in week 14. So they're always good. So Norway in a big challenge. Hillsdale goes to Black River. The River trying to battle back from a 4-7 team after Hillsdale handled them last year. Tuslaw and Smithville, a couple of locals open up at Smithville. Cleveland JFK comes to Rittman and Mike Hupp's opener. Chippewa will take to the road to East Canton. Northwestern is home for Keystone, coming off a 10-2 season. Also, Tuskegee Valley and Waynedale, a long-time matchup between those schools, and Mapleton and Loudonville. Ed Honeberger trying to get his first win with the Redbirds. So some appealing and interesting matchups. I'll ask you guys, Pete, how about you first? What are some of the games, maybe week 1, at least 1 or 2, that are interesting to you?
Well, the one that sticks out, and it's going to be obvious with me because I'm a West Holmes guy, but West Holmes and Triway, those 2 teams, the winner of that game is going to be gaining a lot of confidence going into the rest of their season. And you really don't know about West Holmes. They've got a lot back, but they were missing some key parts on their offensive line. Triway, they got a lot of their skill back as well. So it's going to be very interesting. I look to see that game being a higher scoring game. And yeah, that's probably the top one on my list.
Ron?
Oh, I think the one that is most intriguing is you get Reedy on the schedule for Dalton. Of course, a couple years, it was pretty cool to see Kirtland playing Dalton early in the year. You like, whether it's college or high school, I always like to see good teams challenged. Take that loss in week 2 if you're playing somebody up rather than playing, a small school where you're just going to run up the score. So that's interesting. The St. Clairsville is interesting as well. Well, and another one is, Rittman JFK. We talked about one of the 4 new coaches. So anytime you have a new coaching staff, new program, you want to see what that's all about. What have they changed? What are they not changing? How are the kids responding? So anytime you get a new coach. So I think that will be interesting as well.
Well, when you take a look as far as the legs are concerned, why don't we start in the Ohio Cardinal Conference? And we'll get to Worcester in just a moment, but the team that popped back into the league and with authority was Ashland last year. Scott Valentine, as he's had so many years, had a good quarterback. And that quarterback is back, and that guy is pretty much, I'm speaking of Nathan Bernhard, the story of the league this year. A D1 recruit, he's the guy for them. Their first OCC title since 2020. He's going, by the way, to App State, which is an unusual team. Yeah. He got maybe bigger D1 schools, but this is a school that he might be able to fit in and play down there in North Carolina. So I know the Arrows are really excited about their season.
They are, and he's got the build. He's 6'5". He's tall. He's strong. He's got a cannon for an arm. And I'm going to tell you what, I've known Scott Valentine for many, many years. that man knows quarterbacks.
Yeah, they've had quite a few through the years. And the key with their spread offense, their QB runs, and of course, Bernhardt's a big, big kid. We know that. When you go 6'4", get 220 pounds on your frame, he's going to do it both ways. Last year, he accounted for nearly 4,000 yards on offense, and that's tough to deal with. You also have to have receivers, and they've been blessed with skill guys too. So they're the team, once again, that everybody is chasing, coming off their unbeaten regular season. By the way, it was just the 5th unbeaten regular season in Ashland history for all their success. Got into the 3rd week of the playoffs. Another team that was really an up-and-comer last year was Lexington, and they've got a lot back. A 7-6 season, but most of their skill returns, and they have another D1 guy in Braden Fogel. And by the way, you don't get too many guys from Ohio going to Georgia, and that's where the tight end, defensive end, tight end, I guess, is going to be his position in college at 6'4", 230. So OCC's got some dudes, as they say, this year.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of guys playing on Saturday out of the OCC conference, that's for sure. And I'll tell you what, that game is going to be the game of the year for the OCC when Lexington and Ashland get together. Those two, in my opinion, are above everybody else in the league right now.
When you talk about playmakers and everything, Lexington's got their quarterback back in Joey Cottle, their top running back in Markel Martin, and Fogel. Now, they struggled through an 0-3 non-conference. Well, they played Ontario and Shelby and Clear Fork. So they were loaded. So they're going to have to deal with that. But that's a challenge there. You mentioned Worcester and Ron. We talked about it. The Generals struggled. Let's face it. They went 2-8. They went 1-5 in the league, and they lost some key guys. It's an entirely new skill set for the Generals. So I don't think Ray Leake's thinking about maybe competing for the conference, but maybe about getting better week after week. And that's really the steps probably Worcester has to take.
Yeah, as you mentioned, under Austin Holter in his 4th and final year, just 2 wins on the year. They were 1-5 in the OCC. And most of the skill positions that they had a year ago, gone. Word is they've got 2 freshman quarterbacks that they're going to toggle between. So there's a lot of question marks for Worcester this year. And I'm sure for Coach Leake, it might not be something where you're judging how well the season went on wins, per se. It's about building his culture and getting the kids to buy in maybe for the next year or the year after that.
And when you take a look, they do have a lot of guys up front, 3 starters in the offensive end, have some big boys. But when you're replacing quarterback, running backs, and receivers, boy, it's tough. The non-league, right out of the gate, they get Orville in a rivalry game. They have a new opponent on the schedule in North Royalton. So we don't know a ton about them. And then they jump into the league right away in week 3 with New Philly. The one problem that a lot of schools have, Dover is not able to compete for an OCC title in football. They're in everything else right now. Football, they'll be in next year. But a lot of schools still have the Tornadoes on their leagues, on their schedule overall. It'd be nice to avoid them until you have to play them, but Worcester's not one of those teams.
At least one more year, that's for sure. Dover, very, very solid. Offensively, they score a ton of points. Defensively, they're always solid. And yeah, I mean, you play them, you want to see what they're like, but they're coming in the league next year, and OCC takes a step up when Dover enters the league.
It really does. I mean, that's a huge lift for the league and a bigger challenge in every sport for everybody else.
Mike, if I can backtrack real quick, I like what you said, because so many times as we go around here, you hear everything's about skill position. Well, they've got their quarterback back. They've got their running back back. But as you mentioned, Worcester has its entire starting offensive line back. That's vital when you've got a young running back, when you've got a young quarterback. One, the quarterback's not out there like a sacrificial lamb. And 2, it covers up a lot of mistakes. It allows the quarterback to not have to be perfect if he's got good protection up front. So, we talk about Worcester, they've been down, they're young, but at least they've got that, the 5 guys up front that can really help things out, and really whoever the quarterback's going to be kind of help guide them through some early season struggles that they might have.
So Worcester, a lot of youth, and we'll see them Friday night at Orville, the first chance for varsity action being thrown in there. Another school's been a perennial power, but really struggled last year was Mansfield Senior. And head coach Chioke Bradley is now gone. After 15 seasons, he leaves, but another Mansfield alum, Antonio Fletcher, takes over for them. And we saw them last year. They just struggled to score offensively. They really struggle to put points on the board. 11 points a ball game is just not going to get you much in high school football.
No, but I'll tell you what, it got them to a state title game a couple of years ago by playing good, sound defense, and they had their chance in that game, that's for sure. Mansfield seniors got kids that can get to the ball, so defensively, they're going to be way ahead of what their offense is going to be. When I see their offense struggling, a lot of times it's because of their quarterback play, and who knows who's going to be back there this year for sure.
The interesting thing about that Mansfield senior, the 1-9 record was startling. Not as startling as when you went week to week and looked at some of those scores. I mean, they were not competitive in most of their games. You just mentioned the 11 points per ball game that they averaged. There was a lot of blowouts last year, which is just, the 1-9 is shocking for area fans to see senior that way, but the way they were losing, even more so.
So I think they're kind of a question within the league. How much will they bounce back? And can they be a threat to some of the bigger schools in the conference? And not far away is Madison. The Rams get another new coach. Brent Bezanson, of course, left to come back to Wayne County at Orville. But even though they won 2 ball games, they could have won 3 others. He made them very competitive in a lot of football games, and that's what they'll try and continue.
That's for sure. Their smash mouth style of game, and who knows what this new coach is going to put in for them over there. But they've got a lot of tough kids. They got a lot of size usually too. So those 2 things, that's 2 pretty good building blocks to start with.
By the way, an alum, they're also taking over. Kobe Johnson, a young guy, just 31 years old, but isn't that the case anymore? Young coaches all over the place in all sports. And then, of course, the final team is West Holmes, and we broached that subject earlier. Speaking of youth, Kate Lepla's got a lot of young guys, but let's start with a real positive. They got one of the best players in the conference back in Lynn Klein.
Yeah, Lynn Klein, very, very solid, both sides of the ball. West Holmes has 8 starters back defensively, so I think their defense is ahead of their offense right now, according to Keaton Lepla. They had 2 tough scrimmages, Tri-Valley and Garraway, and they looked very, very good, especially in their second scrimmage. So one thing leads to another for West Holmes. They've got some experience up front. Listen for this name, Brody Bowman. Keaton Leplaw told me that's going to be his breakout player this year. He's in the backfield. He's a big boy, and he likes to run the ball hard, and he looks for people to hit.
And West Holmes, much like Ashland, has been very fortunate in their quarterback play through the years. Of course, Morgan Smith is gone. He was such a load, and he did so many things. So it's the next man up trying to develop that position over the next couple of years to help out the offense. And maybe that's why the ground game might be even more important, at least this year.
Yeah, that's for sure. And one thing West Holmes is big up front. They've got a couple of 300-pounders, a couple of other guys that's above 260. So that's a good building block for them. Braden Parsons will be their starting quarterback. First-year starter, has a good arm. Don't know about how well he can run, but that running part is what's going to separate West Holmes. They have to get better with their running game this year.
So the league champion returning Ashland, everybody chasing the arrows in the OCC. We'll take a break. More coming up. Pigskin preview here on this Thursday, brought to you by Sterling Farm Equipment. Back after this.
At Home Siding Contractors, our mission is to give homeowners a quality product, whether it's our vinyl siding or our energy-efficient replacement windows and doors. Home Siding Contractors is ready to turn your home into one of your biggest energy-saving assets. You'll notice the difference as your home will stay warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer. Call 888-725-6619 for a in-home estimate or find all of our products at homesiding.com.
Contractors, Home Siding Contractors.
Get your vehicle back on the road smooth and problem-free with Village Motors Collision Center. Hi, this is Deke Miller, and our Collision Center works on all makes and models and has available deductible assistance, along with loaner and rental vehicles available for your use, complimentary oil change packages, not to mention that we are the preferred repair shop for most insurance companies. Ask us about our cleanup packages with 4 great packages from basic to premium by appointment only starting at $19.95. For collision repair, make your first stop at Village Motors in Millersburg.
Hi, Conrad here for Sterling Farm Equipment. You probably heard about tariffs causing prices to rise, but not at Kubota. That's right, Kubota is holding the line on equipment prices with no increases due to tariffs. And it gets even better. Kubota has boosted their cash incentives on most models. That means more money in your pocket and top quality equipment in your field. But don't wait, these deals won't last forever. Come see us today at Sterling Farm Equipment and get more for your money with Sterling Farm Equipment and Kubota.
Sterling Farm Equipment for construction, home and farm. watch your money grow. Your legacy will show. It's Star Strategy. It's Star Strategy.
If you're looking for more insulation, then stop by MRV Siding Supply for top-rated by Winco windows. By Winco offers black windows carrying more argon gas, which gives you 30% more installation value. By Winco windows also have standard double strength, increasing noise reduction. That's MRV Siding Supply in Millersburg, Newark, and Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Call 800-524-7436.
Get your siding supplies from the siding guys. MRV Siding Supply.
Back here on Pigskin Preview, we continue on a Thursday night on the eve of high school football coverage for 2025. Our show tonight brought to you by the good folks at Sterling Farm Equipment. Let's jump into the Principals Athletic Conference, which, like the OCC, is waiting for another school. CVCA is gone officially in everything. Everybody played them last year, but they weren't available for the title. Coventry is the team that is going to come in. They're not there yet. But in the meantime, the team that is back and won the league is Manchester. Kind of a resurgence for the Panthers. It was their first league title in 7 years, but they ran over the league. Northwest was a game back, and it's a traditional power, Jim France, for 100 years. But they finally got some youth experience over the last couple of years. They're the team that everybody's going to chase again. We'll talk about Triway, Orville, the Chasers, but another old school team in Manchester. Yeah, they just play football.
Yeah, you want to talk about smash mouth special. That is Manchester. They line it up and they come right at you. Defensively, they bring it too. I mean, it's tough to score on Manchester's defense, and they're going to wreak havoc this year in the league. But I think Triway has a chance to hang with them. That was only a one-touchdown game last year.
Yeah, Cody Kelly's team went 8-4, and they went 4-2 in the league, a couple of tough losses. But the good news is quarterback is back, and that's big. And Luke Starr had a great season a year ago with some weapons, but I think he's really on the scene for a guy that could explode this year in the area.
Well, look at the numbers last year. 3,100 yards through the air, 25 touchdown passes, completed 60%, 9 picks, and he's also a guy that can run. 500-plus yards on the ground, 10 touchdowns. Last year had 4 guys he really went to in the spread. 2 of the big ones are back, and Bruin Flinner and Ali Krupp. Flinner now a junior, Krupp a senior, but with those 2 guys back, they're going to put in other parts. You're right. Starr, one of the better quarterbacks in the area, and he could have a very big year.
Yeah, and whereas his scrimmages have been very, very good. It's also important that Triway, even though they lost a couple of guys up front, they have one of the better interior linemen in the area back, and that's Roman Gilbert, coming off a monster junior season on both sides of the ball. He's going to be anchored. Spoke to Cody Kelly last week, and he said, hey, we're a little bit bigger than we have been. That doesn't necessarily mean we're better, but a little bit bigger overall. We'll see Triway week number 2 when Norwayne comes to town. By the way, that's a great looking matchup, huh? Yeah. Both teams looking for games. Triway had Sparta Highland the last couple of years, but now Norwayne's in town. 2 locals that I got to look back and see when they played. But that's a great matchup, and looking forward to that one.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, both those teams, the winner of that one's going to take a big leg up in their season, and you hate to say it that early in the year, but a lot of computer points will be on the line right there, and that will be big at the end of the year when it comes time for positioning.
Even though that Luke Starr's going to run the football a little bit, Triway did lose their featured back in Wyatt Poston. A couple of guys will replace him. I know Gavin Duncan's back there. Grayson Smith returns. So that'll be interesting for the Titans. And when you take a look at the non-league schedule, we're 3 locals that are all interesting when you take a look at it. You got West Holmes, you got Norwayne, you got Waynedale. Not exactly easy, but I'm sure Triway feels, hey, we could set ourselves up into week 4 when we jump into league play.
Yeah, they started, 5-0 last year.
Well, we talked about it earlier. Momentum's a huge thing. If you can run the table out of the league and go into that week 4 and not have a loss yet, you're going to have a lot of confidence built after that non-league schedule.
And another team that thinks they can get off on a good foot is Orville. Obviously, they got challenges right out of the gate with Worcester and with West Holmes, but we mentioned quarterbacks returning. Cameron Kraft returns. He had a good season in his first year as starter. It started week 1 when he had some good numbers in that win at Worcester. Now he's got a season under his belt, and I would think even more confidence.
Yeah, I'd say he would be a lot more confident, but what I want to see is wing T at Orville. I don't know if that's ever been said before. And, Coach Bezanson, that's his cup of tea. That's what he knows. And Orville's going to run the ball this year for sure.
I think it may not be wing T, but they will have two backs in the backfield. Yeah. Parker Hostetler returns as a feature back. His brother's not there, but a dual threat on each side of the ball with Travis Pumnio. So that's going to give you a 1-2 thing. And they'll probably go 2 or 3 lineups, maybe not the traditional spread that we've seen from the Red Riders, but up front is going to be a big key, as it is for every team. They got a couple of guys back and a lineman. So it's interesting. It always changes when you have a new coach come in philosophy and what they want to do. So I think Orville's probably, like a lot of schools, going to have a feeling out period, that opening couple of weeks, to see what they can do. Coming off a 4-6 season, I think they have a lot of expectations, even with the new coach. All that, of course, contingent upon week 1. You got to jumpstart the engine right out of the gate, and that's what they face when they take on Worcester tomorrow. Another team that's always in the mix is Northwest. 9-3 last year. Their only league loss was tight. That was to Manchester. The Indians are always going to be there. I mean, it's just a really good program for a long time. And then you have Canton South, Fairless, and Tuslaw. 3 teams that are trying to get better when you take a look at it. Fairless had that great run, and now they're in the youth period trying to get back up with A.J. Sarbaugh. Brockdial at Tuslaw trying to build them. We know he's a coach. Okay, 2-8. Can they find some things there? And South, a year after, Pucci, they came back down to a 4-7. But the league as it is still interesting. It's Manchester's right now, but with Triway and Orville and maybe Northwest, boy, there's going to be some big games in that conference. So once again, interesting matchups. The non-league are always going to be there. Everybody always tries to build in the non-league, but some teams, quite frankly, have bigger challenges than others, and that might dictate things as we head into week 4 in the 6-team conference that once again is the Pac. They'll get Coventry in a little bit, but like the OCC, by the way, it's still amazing how many teams don't have 8 anymore. 8 used to be the great number that everybody strived for, but now there's super conferences, there's divisions and everything. And we'll talk about the Wayne County Athletic League, but how lucky are they? They've had no changes since 1970 in the Wayne County Athletic League. The same 8 teams. That's almost unheard of anymore. Everybody else, like the OCC and the PAC, is fighting to get schools, fighting to keep schools. It's just the lay of the landscape.
And that's not just us talking in Wayne County. We hear that as we go around the state. People are just shocked at the consistency, and nobody's hopping in, nobody's hopping out. It's pretty incredible.
So we'll talk about the Wayne County Athletic League and how the 2025 season is going to shake up and put a wrap on things on Pigskin Preview here on this Thursday night, all brought to you by Sterling Farm Equipment.
Here at Hartley's Auto Repair, we work on all makes and models. We have friendly, knowledgeable staff that are ready to tackle all of your repair and maintenance concerns.
Do you know how to work on diesels? Stop in and join our team.
We are Hartley's Auto Repair, and we've got you covered. Find us in Worcester at 3281 Lincoln Way East. You can also find us on all major social medias.
Hi, Conrad here for Sterling Farm Equipment. You probably heard about tariffs causing prices to rise, but not at Kubota. That's right, Kubota is holding the line on equipment prices with no increases due to tariffs. And it gets even better. Kubota has boosted their cash incentives on most models. That means more money in your pocket and top quality equipment in your field. But don't wait, these deals won't last forever. Come see us today at Sterling Farm Equipment and get more for your money with Sterling Farm Equipment and Kubota.
Sterling Farm Equipment for construction, home, and farm.
Watch your money grow. Your legacy will show. It's Star Strategy. It's Star Strategy.
A&J Exhaust and Tire Center provides a wide variety of services at affordable prices, and they're committed to staying up to date on new technology in the auto industry in order to serve you with the best service possible. You have many options on auto repairs and tires, and they want to thank their customers for choosing A&J Exhaust and Tire Center, and especially for referring them to their friends and family. When you need help with your vehicle, they'll be here for you. A&J Exhaust and Tire Center will keep you rolling for less. Located at 3236 Dover Road, Worcester.
At Home Siding Contractors, our mission is to give homeowners a quality product, whether it's our vinyl siding or our energy-efficient replacement windows and doors. Home Siding Contractors is ready to turn your home into one of your biggest energy-saving assets. You'll notice the difference as your home will stay warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer. Call 888-725-6619 for a in-home estimate or find all of our products at homesiding.com.
Contractors, Home Siding Contractors.
Back here on Pigskin Preview, final segment here on this Thursday as we take a look at the 2025 season around the area. Tonight's show brought to you by Sterling Farm Equipment. And we end with the Wayne County Athletic League. 8 schools, once again, as we talked about it during the break, all battling for titles. 1970 was the last edition to the Wayne County Athletic League. That was when Hillsdale jumped in, and they did so with both feet. And Triway disappeared. The Titans have been fighting, by the way, for leagues ever since. I'm sure they'd love not to make that move, but they were in some good league battles with other people. But Hillsdale's the story of this league coming in, one of them. But despite their success last year, they still weren't able to lock up a title. It's hard to believe it's been 11 years, despite all the success of Tom Williams and Trevor Klein, since Hillsdale posted a Wayne County Athletic League flag. It's still kind of tough to believe.
Well, tough to believe, and I'm sure that's number one on the billboard in the locker room, among everything else. Before you worry about the playoffs, before you do anything else, league title's number one. And I'm sure that's what they're gunning for this year. First in over a decade, they're going to try to get it.
Well, we talked about having the great skill back. And a lot of it returns. Cale Lewis back at quarterback. Owen Sloan back at running back. Hayden McFadden anchors the wide receivers. Brady Heller's the two-way guy. They got a lot of guys returning, as we talked about. And expectations are sometimes tough to handle. And I'm sure Trevor Klein and his staff are doing that as they get ready for their Week 1 game with Black River tomorrow.
It's going to be interesting because expectations are sky high. You mentioned Cale Lewis as a sophomore last year. Pretty much he and the entire offense reset the record book at Hillsdale. Pretty much every offensive individual stat, team stat, they blew it out of the water. Hayden McFadden with his 1,300 receiving yards, 18 touchdown catches, first team All-Ohio. And yet, with the expectation so high, 17 starters back, on the flip side, you've got a very bad taste in your mouth the last time you were on the field in what happened in the state title game. It's going to be interesting to see how that might play into this and how they come out of that.
I think it's a good point. I don't think it would affect them at all because of the team that beat them, because nobody beats that team, and that's Marion Local. They have simply owned the small schools, and I know they lost a ton. I think they lost as many starters as Hillsdale returns. They're still going to be back. They're going to be okay. But Hillsdale's magical run, I remember showing up for Week 10 in that Norwayne game. Never seen the excitement at a Hillsdale football game. And I think that's what might remember them. Can they beat the Bobcats? They're going to get them again to end the year. That's been the stumbling block they've got to get over because Norwayne has always been there. Hillsdale's beaten Dalton. They've beaten everybody else. It's been almost as long, 8 years, for them to beat Norwayne.
Well, if you're going to do it, this year might be the year because we'll talk about Norwayne as we go, but they've lost a lot. This might be the first year in a decade plus where people aren't saying, well, Norwayne's going to be back. They're loaded for bear again. They've lost a lot. Cupboard's not bare, but they don't have back what Hillsdale does for sure.
I'll give Norwayne credit because their numbers last year, when you have suit up 34, 35 guys, and you're a Division 5 school, that
makes it tough.
Yeah, but you know what? They won the Wayne County Athletic League. It was their first title since 2020, but their fifth in 10 years. And hard to believe Adam Indorf's now been there 12 years, an assistant before that. Now, Mason Moyer's gone, outstanding running back, Logan Hatworth, so it's a new backfield. They lose some skill. They do return Ryder Ingold, their leading receiver. And remember last year they rotated the quarterback positions. Well, Jacob Bruner is back, and that's a big key. Now a senior, he can throw the football. 3 offensive linemen. They only have 36 guys or something out. But I'll tell you what, they're still going to be a threat again this year.
Yeah, they're never going to be a pushover, that's for sure. And you mentioned the quarterback, Bruner. Between the 2 quarterbacks they used last year, he was the better thrower of the 2. And he's going to be relying heavily on his 2 outside guys that are back too for Norwayne. And when they take on Hillsdale, I want to back up to Hillsdale. You mentioned 17 people back. The one question mark Hillsdale has is up front. They lost a lot of linemen, and can they fill those spots? That's what we want to see.
And that's where Norway beat them last year.
Yes.
They beat them up front and behind the running of Moyer. They have to get over that hump. Norway's got 3 offensive linemen back. Last year they had 37 guys on their team. 10 of them were seniors. So if you look at that, they get 27 guys returning and freshmen. It's going to be a small roster, and their non-league schedule is just flat out difficult. They have St. Clairsville, they have Triway, and by the way, now you have Garroway.
Yeah.
They have had a hard time finding schools, so because of that, don't look at the record week 4. They might be beaten up, but they're always ready to play.
Well, going back, we talked earlier about Hillsdale and the turnaround, but you mentioned it's been a while since the state title game. 2011 was when Norwayne won its state title. The culture that Coach Harbour and now Indorf, now in his 12th year, that's hard to believe, have built is pretty incredible because they haven't had ebbs and flows. They've been good now for 15 years. And I remember 20 plus years ago, it was all Smithville in the
Waynedale.
consecutive Wayne County Athletic League titles. I don't remember another program in the area outside of Orville that has had the sustained success, whether who's on the field or not, that Norwayne's had.
It's just funny, and I know I'm old, and that's okay, but hopefully I'm wise too. But we're talking a lot about Hillsdale and Norway now. My first 20 years here at the station, we didn't cover either one because they were so bad football programs. Norway didn't make the playoffs for the first time until 2008, but that was the freshman class that will win state, and something was coming. That was Kevin Maltrich's last year.
Yes, it was.
And then Joe Harbour took over after that. And then Tom Williams, what he did with the turnaround at Hillsdale, it's amazing because prior to that, through the 90s, it was 3 schools. It was just out in Smithville, Waynedale, and they were there every year. Great coaches. So it has been a turnaround, but this has been the new normal with these schools. And we mentioned Dalton. They're the 3rd team in. The Bulldogs, they lost a bunch as far as talent, but they still have guys back. Their quarterback returns. The youngster from a year ago, Carter Hignite, returns. Jackson Ryder did a great job, went over 1,000 yards in the backfield. Colton Riggenbaugh is the center. You just don't ever expect Dalton to be down the way they've been up the last 4 or 5 years.
Hard-nosed kids, that's for sure. And you mentioned back in the day it was Smithville, Waynedale, Dalton. Now it's Norwayne, Hillsdale, Dalton. The one team that has stood the test of time is one of the smallest schools in the league, and that's Dalton.
Well, you talked about Carter Hignite. Had a really good year last year. 29 touchdowns, just 6 interceptions. They lose Sammy Tomlinson, obviously. That's a huge loss. Caden Russell, the big tight end, who I really liked, one of those guys that it seemed like if he caught the ball, it was a big catch. But, Mike, you just mentioned Jackson Ryder, so they've got skill guys back. It's going to be another fun year. The big question mark, first-year head coach, will that make a big difference or not?
Dalton's league opener, by the way, is at Smithville in week 4. We hope to be there. And Phil Olson hopes to take another step up. Quietly, Smithville went 8-4. They have a manageable non-league schedule. They got Tuslaw, Claymont, Black River. Quarterback now a senior, Brock Cannon takes that. They have a 1,300-yard rusher returning in Mason Haynes. They got some skill on the outside. The sophomores, Isaiah Lee, Brady Seidel. So, with everybody else, maybe some questions. Can Smithville take one more step up and get one of the big 3 that they've struggled with over the last couple of years?
You hope so, because I think for people, you want to see more of that middle ground. The Wayne County Athletic League for the past decade has been very top-heavy. There's been a lot of cream at the top, but then not much in the middle, and then a lot of struggling teams at the bottom. So the more teams like Smithville or Waynedale, who was 3-4 last year, can get a win here or there, it makes it more interesting for everybody rather than, Hillsdale and Norwayne are going to be good this year in Downton.
Yeah, they got a taste of it. They got a playoff win against LeBray. Their most wins in 9 years with that's 8. So we'll see what the Smithies can do as they get ready against Tuslaw week 1. We mentioned Waynedale trying to build with Jesse Cantor coming off a 3 of 7. Chippewa, Coach Johnson, and Northwestern, low numbers are always going to be the key. And Mike Huff, the former assistant, now head guy at Rittman, those guys are just battling and trying to get better through the non-league. They have some winnable games, trying to get some confidence for some inexperience and some young players.
Well, the one thing that's linking all 4 of those you mentioned, just the youth of the coaching staff. Rittman, first year. Waynedale, second year. Chippewa, Northwestern, third years. I mean, a lot of young coaches, but those 4 guys, Cantor, Huff, Edwards, Carosa, just trying to build programs up, and sometimes that takes time.
It does. So a lot to look forward to. There's going to be some surprises. There's going to be some, we knew that was going to happen, all as the 2025 season unfolds. And it starts with us tomorrow night from Red Rider Stadium. Orville and Worcester renew their pleasantries. We'll be on the air at 6:35 with a pregame, and the kick is 7 o'clock tomorrow, right here at FM 102.9 and on YouTube. Jonathan and the gang will have it at Local Sports OH. Thanks for joining us on this preseason look, Pigskin Preview, brought to you by Sterling Farm Equipment. For Ron and Pete and Jonathan, I'm Mike. Thanks for listening. Have a good night. Thanks for joining us for Local Sports Ohio's presentation of Pigskin Preview. Tonight's show has been brought to you by Home Siding Contractors, Village Motors, Star Strategies, A&J Exhaust and Tire Center, MRV Siding Supply, Hartley's Auto Repair, and our presenting sponsor, Sterling Farm Equipment. Join us all year on YouTube at Local Sports OH and at FM 102.9.